he's not. I see him as a symptom of a problem rather than a solution to it.
A bit lost. A lot of what he says about masculinity and stuff, I completely would sign up to, actually.
Yeah. But I find him repellent. I will depict feminism as a particular kind of thing, a kind of man-hating thing, which it isn't.
Well, it is to some feminists.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another day where ignorance is bliss. So, I came across this video where apparently Piers Morgan, after that interesting interview with Andrew Tate, is now sitting with some feminists defending him. I'm actually very curious to see how and where he defends and what he has to say about Andrew Tate. And obviously, we kind of know what every feminist or what bracket every feminist throws him in. So let's jump right into it.
Joining me now is Talk TV contributor Esther Krakow and a trembling broadcaster and journalist Jenny Kleeman, visibly recoiling in horror. Let's start with you, Jenny. He's not your idea of a role model.
Well, no, he's not. I see him as a symptom of a problem rather than a solution to it. I can understand why.
What's the problem that he's the symptom
The
for?
problem is,
Expected.
I think a lot of young men feel that nobody is speaking up for them. In a culture where we are encouraged to have identity politics, the only identity that isn't a good identity is a young man or a young white male. He talks in a very straight way and he gives...
Okay, I'm not sure where the race part comes in, but in the aspect of a world where, yeah, men are basically ostracized, she's definitely right there. And I'm curious to see where exactly he is the problem instead of the solution. Because, in my opinion, he's done more good so far than any bad anyone would point out, besides hurting a few feminists' feelings. So, let's continue.
straight answers to some questions, which I think he gives very wrong answers to. But I find him repellent. I think he talks...
What wrong answers?
He basically creates straw men that he destroys.
Tell us what these wrong answers are.
So he will depict feminism as a particular kind of thing, a kind of man-hating thing, which it isn't.
Well, it is to some feminists.
For a small number of feminists.
I mean, there are some radical feminists who genuinely hate men.
There definitely are. But most people know that feminism is about just thinking that everyone should have equal opportunities regardless of...
Yeah, and one thing we know from...
Let's call it for what it is. The reality of the matter is the majority of feminist talk out there is hating men. And the only women who speak in support of men all claim to not be feminists. So I'd say let's throw it in the hating men bracket, because that's its reality, if we are being honest, of course.
Afghanistan, and these heartbreaking scenes today in Afghanistan of weeping female students who couldn't go to university, and men actually in Afghanistan then going out in protest for them. I mean, really heart-rending scenes, Esther, here of these young women in Afghanistan weeping because they've been told they cannot now continue their education. And then you've got male students walking out in protest. Very brave thing to do. A bit like we saw in Iran with the men protesting in support of the women being oppressed there. This is where he slightly lost me last night, Andrew Tate. There are a lot of things he says which I understand why young men, you feel a bit lost, why they gravitate to his confidence. He's very good at building business. He's proven it. He's made himself extremely rich doing it. A lot of what he says about masculinity and stuff, I completely would sign up to, actually. Yeah. And his confidence can help people. But when he was not prepared to condemn the Taliban for that, because that to me is an open and shut case. If you don't condemn it, then I'm afraid you've got a problem. And it's not about sending feminists in to go to war. As I pointed out to him.
Which I actually do think is a valid point.
Well, it's fine, but a lot of women do actually fight in the armed forces.
Yeah,
so
I think
the idea that none of them do is...
I may have to call a bit of bullshit here, because if I'm in a situation and I choose not to speak about something, it doesn't necessarily throw me in a particular bucket. Okay, I get due to his influence and so on, people would expect him to have some kind of statement or to, to say something on behalf of this particular issue, especially because he's so loud spoken. But the reality is, he's not obligated to. And if he doesn't, he might just not want to. And if he doesn't, it's none of your business. So for you to then throw him in a particular frame just because he doesn't want to speak on something is as if, yeah, no, let's continue, because that particular point makes no sense.
Also nonsense.
I think he was using that to kind of attack the more extreme forms of feminism that says, women can do anything a man can do. And he was using that as an example.
Yeah.
But I do think, you lose people when you refuse to outright condemn sort of 10th century barbarians like this. But I don't think, when he said it has nothing to do with him, I think he's not willing to get into dicey territory in that way. But it's like, you speak in such absolute terms. Why
Do you think
not?
he's a misogynist?
I don't think he's a misogynist. No, I don't think so.
I mean, a misogynist means
That's
somebody
a
who hates
first.
women.
Yeah,
I don't think he hates
I
women.
do think he hates women. I think he thinks
don't think
women
he does.
are nothing. I think he would not know what to do with you and I, Esther, because he does not know how to deal. He gives interviews to people like you or to Hugo Rifkin. He'll give interviews to men.
But a lot of
He
women
can't
I've
deal with
spoken to about. Yeah, but a lot of
But
women.
he's done interviews with women. I've seen them before on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's very polite and respectful.
Yeah, women do. A lot of women do like him.
Exactly.
There are a lot of women who don't know him who seem to hate him,
Yeah.
ironically. But I'm not sure it's as clear cut
I-
as
I
he's a
had-
misogynist.
Of course, I mean, that's the whole propaganda business going on, right? They know nothing about him, but they hate him. I'm sure you've all seen these videos where there are people who are like, "Oh, I hate him. I hate him. Why do you hate him? Because he says misogynistic shit." What has he said? Silence. And then it's like, what the fuck are you talking about then? Because you actually can't defend your reason for hating him. So why? Hmm. Well, we continue.
I don't think he's a misogynist, and I have a brother who's probably within his
She's a
target
first,
demographic,
actually.
23, and I can understand why his message would resonate with him, because it's
I
normal.
can understand why the
It's
message
normal,
would
exactly,
resonate.
for
I
young
just-
men to feel like they don't have a place in Western society, and he actually makes that point. I just think when you don't want to outright condemn 10th century barbarians like the Taliban, you tend to lose your case with more moderate people. But again, we're not his target
The
audience.
fact that
That's why,
his understanding about what's happening in Afghanistan is that it's a feminist issue rather than a human issue.
I don't think he said that.
Well, no, he did. He said, send this feminist in. It's a human issue where we made all these promises to people in Afghanistan and then we left.
Well, let's be
Women
clear.
spilled
Let's be
their
clear.
life on
We
it.
betrayed those women.
We absolutely
right?
betrayed Biden.
Joe
As a human
Biden,
being,
in the way we pulled
completely.
out.
And what the hell does that have to do with Andrew Tate? That's like an America, thing issue. And then now, when you just don't like someone, you actually just find as much or any reason that you can hold on to excuse your unjustified dislike of them. I won't say hate because you obviously don't know him. You just speak on what you hear. That's bots, robots they call them. Yeah.
Of Afghanistan overnight, and we betrayed not only people who work with us, the interpreters and so on,
But people
we
who
have left
died for them.
millions of Afghan women have just been tossed back to these barbaric
and
wolves.
servicemen who died for it. But the fact that he sees it, he says, oh, it's got nothing to do with me. As a human being, it should have something to do with it. As someone who says he's a
No,
proud
I agree.
Brit, it should
I
have
thought it was a
something to do with
cop out there, but albeit, again, a lot of what he says, I could imagine if I was a young man, it would resonate with me, probably for the right reasons. I think he's
I mean, I'm a young man, and I admit my channel is pretty new. One of the reasons why I've started it and why I've gotten off my ass and started doing things that I had in mind but wasn't, actively doing is because of Andrew Tate. And I'm sure he's done the same for a shit ton of people. So definitely positive. And if it means hurting a few feelings to change people's lives, I would say go for it any day.
trying to give people confidence and a belief that being masculine is not actually a stick to beat you with, right? You can be a good masculine person. He used to be applauded. Let's talk of somebody who I don't think is a shining example of this, Joe Lycett, who has spent the last month
No idea what that
string
is.
away with his shiny moral halo about David Beckham being in Qatar and representing the Qataris in the World Cup and being paid for it. And then the Sun revealed yesterday a rather uncomfortable truth, which is that he had actually performed himself in Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai in 2015, a series of stand-up gigs for money, Esther. Now, there's a word for this, and I call it hypocrisy.
Well, this is the thing. It's hypocrisy and it's cowardice, because he would say these things, but he wouldn't actually go to Qatar and sit on Qatari state television and say all these things. He can sit back comfortably and rage at their...
But his whole point was David Beckham shouldn't be there and shouldn't be fronting anything for the Qataris when this guy himself has taken it. And his excuse was so mealy-mouthed, Jenny. Oops, I've been caught by the sun. Well, yes, I did 2 gigs in Doha. Actually, it was...
You know, these are those people who are just online, and who've fallen into this trend. And the unfortunate thing is, there's this belief that as long as you've got a certain number of followers, you've earned, or you've are worthy of people's ears. But the reality of the matter is, yeah, you know, we can share opinions. I'm here sharing my opinion. But then to go judge other people as a result of that opinion doesn't make sense to me. Especially now you've been caught in your hypocritic shit. So it speaks for itself.
3 gigs in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar. I kept it secret by writing about it in my own book. Well, no one remembers that from 7 years ago. I was paid a few £100, not keen to say exactly how much, not by Qatar, but by UK comedy promoters who were being paid by Qatar. But it was 2015, when Qatar's laws were exactly the same about homosexuality as they are today. And that went a lot further back then. And so he goes on. And then he says, oh, no, but who should I take moral lectures from? Not from the sun. Okay, what aboutery? It's not about the sun here.
Okay, well, now they've passed the Andrew Tate part. So he admitted that, you know, he supports a lot of what Andrew Tate says. And yeah, obviously, like any two people, there are some disconnects in terms of agreement and points of view and whatnot. But again, with the feminists, it falls in the same bracket of you hate him, but you can never really point out or say why. So we just brush you off and put that aside. I was more curious about how how Piers Morgan defended him. And yeah, it's fair enough. Fair enough. Otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts below, and help me grow this channel. I'll be looking forward to making more videos, getting to build this community. Yeah.